What's up, guys? JP coming at you, bringing you the movement tonight. We are joined with Cam that's making bird signals into the camera right now.
I can see myself, and so now it's like the shadow puppets, but in real color.
All right, I see.
Yeah. We're looking good.
So we got
Thank you.
Cam sitting here
What's up?
doing bird signals or whatever it is.
Cash money millionaires.
Wilson sitting next to him as always.
What's up?
And then the man, the myth, the legend, who has hooked all our audio up, which is so freaking
Where's
good.
your video? Where are you?
I don't have feet. We're good.
We're so freaking good. We had to blow a candle out because we could hear the flame in the audio.
It was
it
loud.
was.
It really was.
Sounded like a ceiling fan with some paper stuck on it.
I know. It did.
Yeah. So listen, guys,
It's picking it up good.
we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just telling you.
We're going to get pretty good at
Just,
this.
just stick with us, guys.
are.
We're figuring this audio and everything out. You know, I say we.
Welcome to the journey.
O's doing
Pretty much
it.
O'Neill's doing
Yeah, I
all
was
that.
doing it all.
O's doing it. We just show up and look pretty. Well, some of us.
Thank you.
So today, one of the things that we're going to talk about is hopefully an educational point, because I don't know if you guys have noticed this or not, but there's a lot of chaos and ridiculous shit going on. And a lot of it is, I believe, driven by social media and just crap that's being shared around. And the hope for this episode is to honestly educate you on how social media works, how the back end of it works. We're going to tie in a little bit of stuff that has to do with your subconscious mind, and you're going to learn tonight. You're going to learn today, as some people would say. But we're going to get into some details and stuff like that, but we're also going to get into some opinionated side of things, and I got a feeling that we may not all agree on certain things, which is great because it'll create a lot of good dialogue in here. So what I want to start out with, though, is one of the things that I would suggest that you do is there's a lot of research that you can do into, and like I said, we'll educate you, but algorithms and things of that nature, and how social media is the heartbeat of social media and how technology works today, because it's smarter than you think it is. And I'm going to tell you right now, one of the things that you need to understand is if you are not paying, you are the product. Okay, you are not the customer, you are the product. If you get things for free, you are the product. So understand that, right? The actual customer are the marketing companies, are the companies that are trying to sell stuff. That's the customer to social media. So if anybody hands you something for free, you're the product, and understand that. That's not always a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but you need to understand it. It needs to be something that you're aware of. So in reality, like I said, the media's customer is actually the advertisers, because we're the products that are being sold to those advertisers. They sell your information, they sell your trends, they sell your behaviors, they sell a lot of that stuff, which is not, like I said, once again, it's not good or bad. I mean, to be honest with you, if you talk about hunting stuff and somebody comes in and a company says, hey, this is the newest hunting gadget that we have, or hunting widget that we have, and you didn't know about it and you're big into that kind of stuff, it might be beneficial for you. But if you're always talking about bad shit and negative stuff, then guess what's going to come to you? So one of the things that I really want to get across is that social media is not a tool. It has intentions, and it has mastered the law of attraction. And this is something that a lot of people don't understand. People underestimate social media and its capabilities. Social media has mastered something that is probably one of the greatest powers that one of the greatest skills you'll ever develop, and that's the law of attraction. It has figured out how to attract you to things. That's why social media is so successful, because social media has the ability to almost guarantee marketing companies and retail companies purchases. I mean, I'm telling you right now, if you looked at from a marketing perspective on how much money goes into marketing, it's unbelievable. Social media has almost guaranteed purchases, because they can not only can they anticipate, because of all your behaviors and your habits, what you're going to sell or what you're going to buy or what you're going to do, but they can almost tell you, hey, this is what you want to do. That's creepy. That's a little bit creepy. But one of the things that I want to touch on that was really, really, and I watched the documentary. I'm not going to take credit for this. So, Harvard Business Review, they've done a lot of research. I'm gonna reference a lot of stuff that they've done from some numbers and things of that nature. But there is a documentary on Netflix, and I know it's a documentary on Netflix, but I'm going to tell you right now, the guys that are being interviewed were architects. They were software engineers. These guys actually built the algorithms that are involved in this kind of stuff. And one of the things that was really profound to me is they said there's only two things that call individuals users: drugs and software. Those are the only two things that refer to the individuals as users. Because social media can be directly correlated to a drug by the way that it affects your brain. When you receive a notification, your brain releases dopamine, right? So this
what I mean?
Dopamine? It's the happy drug your brain releases. It's the same thing.
What was the other area that they use users? Drugs,
software, and drugs. So and that's what it says. It's very synonymous, right? So this was actually released in an article from Harvard University. They did a study that found that 73% of people will experience a mild state of panic or anxiety if they misplace their phone today.
Yeah.
When they did
that.
Yep.
Sure.
73% of people will experience a mild state of panic or anxiety if they misplace their phone. That's crazy. And that just goes to show you how you have become dependent on that drug. And your phone, is a drug. And the algorithms, and this is the thing that's really, and I don't want to get too deep, but the algorithms that are written take advantage of that. That's how they're designed. They're designed to take advantage of the fact that you are consumed, that you are attracted, and that you need it. Here's one of the things. So do this. So if your screen time is on average 4 hours a day, right? And you have not checked your phone.
Set some goals in your life.
Yeah, right. But you haven't checked your phone in a long time. Have you ever noticed that you'll get this random notification that has nothing to do with anything that you posted, but it might say so-and-so posted for the first time in a while?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's an algorithm that has identified the fact that, hold on, wait a minute. Cam hasn't posted anything, hasn't had any activity. We need to get activity. We need to get him on here. We need to get him back. He's not been on here. So the algorithms are designed to do that kind of stuff. So here, I want to do a little bit of education, then we'll talk about kind of where y'all's minds are with this and stuff. So what is an algorithm, right? So an algorithm, in a nutshell, is a program or an equation that produces an output or decision based on input conditions, right? So, for example, based on your actions on your social media platform, your inputs, those would be your inputs, your activity, what you do, the algorithm decides what to show you, which is your outputs. So you are presented with something that is associated with what you do. The algorithm takes all the inputs that you put into it, so whether that's good, bad, indifferent, whatever it may be, it doesn't really give a shit, and then it creates a reality associated with how you act. What does that sound like?
Sounds like ecstasy.
Sounds like your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
Your subconscious mind does the exact same thing.
Right.
You drop shit into your subconscious mind all day long. Now, whether it's good, bad, indifferent, your subconscious mind does not segregate between the two, right? It doesn't differentiate. It doesn't care. And then it creates an output or an attitude or who you are, who you believe you are, a reality, a perception of how the world is based off the inputs that you put into it. It's very similar. An algorithm is very similar to your subconscious mind. And as I was preparing for this podcast, I started looking at that and I started going, holy shit. Like, there is a direct correlation between your subconscious mind and an algorithm. I mean, this is just how it works. And so one of the things that you may not understand, right? So these social media algorithms were designed to make money. That's what they're there for.
Right.
Okay. So we have to understand that when you approach social media, the algorithms, everything that's being presented to you is designed to make money. That's how they drive. Remember, you don't pay for it, so they have to make money somehow. Mark Zuckerberg didn't become a multi-billionaire because he gave out free software. That's here, let me rephrase that. He did, but it wasn't a result of the free software. It was the result of the money on the backside of it. So that drives the architects to predict and manipulate your actions. So as an architect, a software engineer, my job is to write an algorithm that becomes your subconscious mind. It becomes a technical version of your subconscious mind. So with that, you got to remember that the products are not the customer, right? So there's a huge interest as a result from the outputs from the algorithms in the retail world. They want to know what your output is. When that algorithm does this calculation, they want to know what it is that the output is, because ultimately that tells the truth of who you really are. Because you will impulse buy stuff based off of inputs that you've put in, because it can tell who you are. It knows who you are better than you know who you are, which is another wild aspect of it. But there's a huge interest on that side because there's a lot of money in it from a marketing perspective. They want to know that information because then they know what they can sell you. I mean, they can almost guarantee sales on a lot of that stuff. So the algorithms are created to cater to the marketing companies. They're not created to protect your mind. There is no conscience to an algorithm. An algorithm doesn't care if you go into an extreme state of depression.
Algorithm's like a honey badger.
What?
Honey badger don't give a fuck.
Honey badger don't give a fuck.
Okay. Nicely played.
Yeah.
So way to throw some humor in there, because I know that was a lot of stuff in there. But so what?
No, it's good. But that's
the truth though. That is the truth.
To Mississippi it a little bit.
Yeah.
Algorithm's like a honey badger.
So and that's the truth though, and it really is, because it doesn't care and it's not looking for your well-being. But for some odd reason, as human beings, we assume that our best interest is at mind, right? Like our best interest is at hand, but it's not.
No,
it's not. And the fact of the matter is, the individuals that made these and wrote these algorithms have no idea what they'll adapt into.
Because they just keep adapting.
They
to
keep adapting.
What you
They wrote it, and they wrote it so that it would grow. And as it grows, it's out of their control.
Yeah.
So it's up to you to create the algorithm. The algorithm grows and adapts based off of your habits. And if your habits are bad, guess what? You go into a severe state of depression because of social media. But it's not technically because of social media.
That explains a lot, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about people that are more that make emotional decisions or more driven by not their own mental discipline, but what is fed to them. And then that becomes like, I'm going to look up the next thing that sounds similar or whatever, and then they create this whole not a rabbit hole. What's the other what's the
black hole?
Yeah, whatever. Black hole sun.
Soundgarden.
They love Soundgarden
in there. Yeah, throw some Soundgarden in there.
But yeah, no, it makes sense. And then you see, like, for lack of political correctness, which I've never had, never will have, is you see these freaking psychotic leftists that I believe probably the algorithm has bit them in the ass.
Yep.
You know, and now they're freaking out.
Well, and another side of it is, we get addicted to this stuff, right? But the fact of the matter is, it works out well for marketing companies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So if you're a marketing company or you're a retail company, would you rather people be having face-to-face conversations, or would you rather have a situation where that individual is plugged in and you can see everything that they're doing so that you can determine their behaviors before they behave? People are predictable. This is the thing that people don't understand.
Right.
People are extremely predictable. As long as you know what people's habits are, you can anticipate what they're going to do.
Right.
Which
That's
is
true.
crazy.
Yeah.
And we have underestimated where it's at. And that's what's crazy to me. So from a marketing perspective, you want people online.
Right.
You don't want me and you having a conversation
For sure,
sitting around the fire, because can Lowe's pick up the fact that I need to build a new deck if we're talking about around the fire?
Well,
Yeah.
Depends on if Echo's sitting there.
Or something else is listening to you.
Yeah.
Or
your phone or whatever.
We've had a conversation, like my wife and I would say, hey, we need to go get this or that. And then you get on Facebook or you get on whatever, and you see an ad that's for it. Or you go on to Google. Google's probably the worst.
Yep.
Like you can go just get on Google, and then you'll see a pop-up ad. It's like, oh, did you say you needed this or whatever? And it's like,
no, I didn't say it.
I didn't
thought
say it.
Yep.
And now I see it, and it's scary.
You could see some of those. Yeah.
Well, you can test that. So you can test that stuff, right? So you can go in there and you can type something into Google, just like a very generic start of a statement into Google, and the population or that populates underneath it in the scroll down menu, the drop down menu under it, yours will look different than mine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because it's not about what's most popular. It's about what your habits would be. It's about what your habits would be. They know more about you than you know about you. Now, that's a problem.
See, I always thought the drop.
Now that is a problem.
I thought the drop down was always unanimous,
No.
based off like what is most popular searched.
So if you're a
So
Trump,
on that one is literally on.
yeah.
what-
So if you're a Trump supporter and you do a lot of stuff that has to do with Trump, and like I'm Republican or whatever it may be, and I'm conservative, this and that and everything, yours will look different than
if you hate America.
the other side.
I was going to try to give it a name, but I better not.
People that hate America.
Yep. So
Pretty much.
They don't all hate America.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Some of them.
Some of them just hate Trump.
They hate freedom and liberty.
Some of them just hate Trump.
They just hate
that's
Trump.
Actually, you know what? That's true. I should take
They
that back.
just
There's
hate
actually
Trump.
a lot of really good people that have been algorithmed to death
About
that
Trump.
they hate Trump, and they don't even really know why. They can give you some words, but they don't really know.
All I hear is that he's a liar and some random, just old stuff.
All right, we're not
old
gonna go
stats. It's
So,
crazy.
so here's
But yeah,
so,
go ahead.
so here's one of the things that and this is a conversation piece, something I wanted to talk about. So as leaders of our households, and this is one of the things as men, like we talked about this social media standpoint, and shepherds of men obviously being a cry out to men, is as the leaders of our household, I believe it's our responsibility as men to protect our environment. Right, it's a big part of of making sure that our kids' minds are protected and developed enough to handle technology maturely. One of the problems I believe that we have more than anything, and I'll put some stats in there to back it up and stuff, is the fact that we are not mentally mature enough to handle social media today, especially when you start dropping kids into that, and kids that are all involved in all of it. So that goes for us and really our entire family union, as far as I'm concerned. And please understand this is not a social media bashing session, because I'm going to talk about some things that are great about social media. Technology's been an outstanding thing. But what are y'all's thoughts on that as far as protecting your environment? Because I mean, technology is part of your environment today.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think that I'll say this now, and then maybe, by the time that Finn gets old enough to want to get his own phone or whatever, it might
Don't
change.
Don't do it.
I don't want to. Honestly, if it was my way, it's like until you can pay for it, you ain't getting one. But at the same time, you do have benefits of being able to get a hold of your son if he's whatnot. So I know they make some phones that are just like limited to nothing. You can't get on anything. I wouldn't want any apps, any social media, because anybody can prey on them and get to them or have access to them. And it's just, if they're not, you can also say it's like if you're a person who has guns and has knives or whatever in your house, you can just teach your kid not to how to act and how to act around those certain things. So I would say you would need to take actions to instill that into your kid to make sure it's like, hey, there's some stuff that you need to be wary about this, and I'm going to be checking it. And if I see you out of line, we're taking it away. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. But so I can educate him, because I don't want to create such a bubble that he's just ignorant to everything. I want him to be aware of what the world is, so that whenever he does go into the world, he's prepared to take it.
I'm the most what's a good way of saying it? I've got more years on than anybody else in the room. So
Seasoned.
Seasoned. Yeah, seasoned. Like salt. I'm the salt of the earth. So
Damn.
yeah, right, just like that. So I'm more, and on top of that, I'm just by nature less interested in all this.
Oh, yeah.
Quite frankly, to be transparent with all the listeners, I am. When we started this project, when we started this movement, and started Shepherds of Men, I was not on social media at all. And it became very apparent that, we have to do that. Obviously, we got to get a message out. This is the largest message board on earth now, Instagram, Facebook, all that different stuff. So for that purpose, I am appreciative of it, and I see that as a positive tool for change. But I am also, I'm real big on, now I agree with Wilson. I do think that you can't just regulate things to death. You can't just make laws to make people do the right thing. It's not going to work that way. You got to teach right and wrong. So I agree with that. And I think you need to be aware of your household and aware of your children, who are all different. If you have more than one, they're all different. You know that. And I can tell you in our household, and this is not a bashing to one or the other, but I would rather my 5-year-old have a phone than my 14-year-old. There's some different things there. They're wired differently. So I think there's got to be a maturity. I don't know if it's necessarily an age. For me, I think the way I think of it is, once you have a license, I want you to have a phone, because I think it's pretty important to be able to communicate. Maybe if you're mature enough before that, but if you're not, definitely not before that. And just speaking from personal experience, that seems like a good litmus test for me. But I'm okay with them being connected, but I also understand that I came up just fine without. What do they really need? What do they really need?
So, and I think you excuse me, I think you hit the nail on the head when it comes to mental maturity from kids. Like that's the big thing, right? And the difference between Cameron and myself, Wilson, probably you and O, we were one of those generations that got to see both sides of the fence.
Yep.
We saw no technology. We saw technology consuming the entire world, which I promise you, it's not necessarily just a bad thing. Like Cam just said, Shepherds of Men is on social media, so it's not all bad. But the kids today are more apt to be 100% consumed,
right,
whereas our generation tends to take it as a tool. We look at it
because we
as a
saw
tool.
the other side.
They look at it as a way of life.
That's true.
It's always been there.
That's exactly
culture.
Yeah. And it's a different mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mental maturity is
We know we
absolutely
could go
paramount.
without it.
That's
Like,
exactly
we
right.
know we did great without it.
Right.
Sometimes I wish I could just go without
Well,
it. you
sometimes
know?
I do.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I get in
Just
trouble
turn it
because I don't
off.
do shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So I want to drop a couple things on you guys, and this is something that blew my mind whenever I was preparing for this. So based off of the American Psychology Association studies that they did, they clinically diagnosed depression age 14 to 17 has increased by 60% between 2009 and 2017. And I think this was published in 2018, so that's why it was only to 2017. 12 to 13 was 47%. And now I'm not
Like talking about depression at 12 years old, the fact that that's even a thing.
Right.
And I'm not
was a
directly correlating this with social media because this is just a general statement of how it has increased. So I'm not blaming it on social media. There are other factors. There's, abuse in the homes, there's shitty parents. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that. But when you look at that time period, 2009,
What has changed most drastically during that time frame has been
Well, now you have kids like being bullies online, telling people to take their life or
so we'll get to
worthless.
that.
Okay, I got
We'll
you.
get to that. We'll get to that.
Sorry.
So age 14 to 17 is increased by 16%. That's probably your age of puberty, where you're starting to have all these emotional problems and stuff in your life. 12 to 13 was 47%, and 18 to 21 was 46%. Death rates by suicide. This is a Harvard or CDC. Age 10 to 19 years of age have increased from 57% from 2007 to 2016. Suicide from 10 to 19.
10 to 19?
57%. So there's a lot of things that need to be fixed. Social media is one of them. Social media is not the only one. Social media is once again, it's a platform, but you need to be mature enough to do it. Same thing. Here's a great analogy. If I hand my 9-year-old keys to a car, there's a good shot that kid wrecks that car.
Oh, yeah.
There's a good shot.
about 100% chance.
He's not ready.
Yeah.
No.
He's not ready. So I can't help but kind of correlate that. But the cause, so while there's no direct correlation to social media, like I said, it does happen to be the most significant thing that has occurred within that time period, and it has accelerated the manipulation of our young minds and opened the door to be compared to unrealistic ideals of beauty and success 24/7. That's the key. So the fact that as a young girl, when you look at your social media feed, you want likes and all this stuff, and you rely on all this stuff, and then you see this other girl that's in your class that is maybe prettier than you, and now it's quantifiable. Now that girl gets twice the likes you do and more comments than you do because she's prettier than you are. So now you start to gauge who you are based off of likes and comments.
And that goes back to that whole educating or helping people be mature, helping your kids be mature. Like, and I don't have a daughter or daughters, but I have sons. But I'm sure there's similar scenarios for the guys too. But like, you don't find your self-worth and your self-image through likes on social media
or somebody else.
Right. But or back in the day it was like, through whatever, but that is a real thing for sure. There are people that, regardless of age, teenagers, young adults, older adults, that they literally every day, that is where they're trying to build their self-image, but ultimately killing their self-image because they're trying to live up to this imaginary thing that is likes.
Yeah.
Right. And like, not real likes, but just a button to click or whatever. It's just, it's absurd to me, And I transparently, as I've gotten onto social media, certainly there's times where it's like you post something and you want to see like how many people check it out. It's a natural thing. And I'm thinking it's dopamine. And if I was not mature, I could see how that would be a terrible rabbit hole to get down.
That's right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen Black Mirror on Netflix? There's an episode about social media, and the entire economy in this idea was ran by likes. Dude, it was the most annoying thing I've ever seen, but it was so like relevant to what we are today. Yeah. And it's just like, and they would do anything for a like. And it's sad because there are people out there that I've seen experience that were like, they live a fake life, and behind closed doors, they're totally different than what they really are. Yeah. And that's what they had. And that just talking about this, how the new generation rising up, if the parents are not involved and teach them how to do what's right, they're going to feel this way, and those numbers are going to increase. And what I'd like to know is, out of those numbers, if they have it, quantifiable, if it's women or men, more likely receptacle, women. It's all women.
Yeah. Women. No, it's not all women.
Oh, no. It's higher women.
It's higher.
And I can see that.
That's
I can see that.
Much higher with
which
women.
Sucks for that, because beauty is only skin deep. I mean, there are. It's great to be beautiful, but it's also a curse at the same time for a woman, because I mean, then you have a lot that's coming to you at one time.
That's just not where your value is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just not.
Sorry, but
that's
a rabbit trail.
And it's a great point. It's a good segue into the kind of the next section of it was, and we all know this, but we naturally compare people's best to our worst. That's how you do it, right? So that girl,
you're watching their highlight reels, and you're looking at your own backstage stuff. It's
absolutely.
not the same.
So some little girl took 27 pictures on different angles to get the right lighting and the right angle with a filter and stuff like that. And then your little girl wakes up in the morning and looks in the mirror, and she's got a pimple because she's 14 years old on her face, and she looks like she's tired and her hair's a mess and stuff like that. But this other girl's got this beautiful picture and stuff. She's not mentally mature enough to know that girl took 27 pictures, or she spent an hour trying to get the right picture.
Unless you're telling her
that.
Yeah.
So the key there, like you said, was parents being engaged when it comes to, because I'm not saying social media is bad, once again, but you better damn sure, if you're listening, you better damn sure be engaged with your kids and make sure they understand. We'll cover that towards the end when we wrap up. But what I want to jump into right now, so kids are super important, obviously, next generation, but there are people that do not have kids, and there are issues outside of children when it comes to social media, because what we do is we accept the reality of the world that we're presented to us, right? We just talked about this a minute ago. So that is what's starting to create a polarized community. Have you noticed that the divide between individuals is bigger than it's ever been? Right. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I understand back in the day, slavery and different things like that. Like there was a pretty strong divide there, but there was a lot of commonalities between people because you had face-to-face conversations with people. And I heard something today that really kind of blew my mind. It was like, I 100% agree with the First Amendment. I think people should have the freedom of speech, and it's something that's absolutely necessary. And another person called into a radio show, and they said, but why does everybody have to be so vile about shit that they present on social media? You know why? Because they can't get punched in the fucking face.
That's true.
That's why.
Yeah,
you can sit on social media and you can be a little bitch, and you can sit behind your username and you can claim all this stuff, which I'm all about freedom of speech. But like we talked about before, you own your words, and your words come with consequences.
Yeah, buddy.
And if those consequences give you a bloody nose, then that's just part of the game.
And it doesn't create a conversation. What it is literally just lashing out, and it's not productive. It's not constructive. It is. I was watching something from Charlie Kirk today, and it was just he's so chill and so calm and so composed, as are a lot of people that are kind of like-minded, and yet the opposition to their statements or their beliefs is just Looney Tunes.
I
mean, like just, and it's more immature. It is angry. It's just spitting in your face essentially, and like, how you can't conversate like that. You can't accomplish anything if all you're going to do is be pissy and mad, and it's because you've never been punched in the face.
Yep.
Then is it really going to take? I mean, is it going to get to the point where we're just going to have to punch you in the face?
Yeah, and that's what it is. People are going to have to feel the pain of their consequences.
They need to have open minds. And that's the problem. Their mind is closed, and they got taught all of this stuff, or like what you're saying, the social media has been embedded into them. Yeah, so much that they don't know how to have an open mind on other concepts.
No, you're right. So, and this is another huge thing that I was looking at one of the studies. Fake news on social media spreads 6 times faster than a standard news outlet.
Oh, what'd you send today?
6 times faster.
What'd you send today that was like a meme? And
about, you with your bullshit question in the back. No, not
the
other dumb stuff like that wants to ask
you can
questions.
zoom in on that one right
there. But that's like, I mean, that's true though. But some people, I mean, if you have half a brain, you would be like, okay, that's funny. It can't be real. But a lot of people would post that and be like, she said it.
So I promise you, this episode is to peel back the layers, right? Okay. So this episode is to make you understand. I'm not trying to convince you one way or the other. I'm just trying to make you understand how things actually work. So when fake news is put on social media, everybody knows. I mean, you look at social media. There's everything from Bigfoot to the fact that Donald
UFOs,
Donald
Santa Claus,
what's his name?
Donald
Brett
Trump?
Kavanaugh was an extreme racist and a rapist, and he raped 16 girls and stuff like that. And then they started drilling him about beer, and he was like, "Yeah, I still like beer today. I like beer. I don't have a problem with beer." He kissed a girl that didn't tell him it was okay in college once, and they drug him through the mud.
I've never done that.
But the stuff that came out was like, there was all kinds of articles on there. Well, Brett Kavanaugh did this at one point, which is a bunch of bullshit. But people, it was on the internet, so it was true, right? And that's the old the funny meme. But I wish people would take that shit to heart and hey, it's comedy.
Like Tiger Blood, 60% of the time it's
it
right
works every time. Right. But what it has done is it's destroyed our shared reality of the world around us because it only feeds you what you want to see. So understand. So we go back to the algorithms, right? Just to circle back to the algorithms. Now understand. Now if you're an individual and you're on there and you're like, listen, unicorns are real. Damn it. Unicorns are real. Unicorns are real. And everything that you do is searching for unicorns or doing this or that or blah, blah, blah. Guess what it's going to feed you?
All of that.
Unicorns.
A reality of unicorns.
It's going to feed you news lines that a unicorn was spotted.
Yeah.
In the Antarctic.
No, they didn't mention it was spotted by somebody on ecstasy.
I'm telling you right now, that is what's presented to them. Yep. So you're presented by what the algorithm thinks you want to see because they can market to you by that.
I could say that's true about even me personally, because I remember whenever the debates, or not debates, what are the RNC and DNC, and I was looking them up because of our episode, and I looked up DNC, and then all of a sudden I kept on getting so much feedback from Facebook saying, here's Biden and talking about good points. And
Did you almost change your vote?
No.
Thought about it.
No. I'm just like, I don't want to see this. I literally said, I want to hide this. I don't want to see this.
I just started Google
more.
searching Trump a lot.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So that goes to a great point, and I'm glad that you said that, because what I was talking about is it organically starts to widen the divide because it starts to feed you stuff that it thinks you want to see, right? So now if you think Trump is a racist, guess what you're going to get? Every article you see has something to do with Trump being a racist.
And that's such an old thing. Like, if you're looking for negative, you're going to find it.
Absolutely.
Whatever you're looking for, you're going to find it.
And we're gonna get into that because I want to give, and at the end we're gonna give some constructive feedback on how to properly approach social media.
Sure.
I want to educate first, and then we're gonna go into how you should properly approach social media. So the fact of the matter is we're being outsmarted, and until we realize that, and until we admit that, we're not gonna get any better. Until you realize that you're being outsmarted by an algorithm that is taking what your inputs are and stuff and telling you what you should think, then you're not going to be able to get any better. So you got to stop being the chess piece and start being the chess player, right?
Like that.
Because right now, we are the chess piece. They're just moving us around where they want us and doing what we know to do. And it's not because they want you to have a state of depression. It's not because they don't want you to like Oatmeal because you guys don't like the same thing. It's because they want to relate to you as much as freaking possible, so they're going to fill your head with stuff that's just you. That's like only watching Fox News and never flipping to CNN, which I would say is probably, you need to do an 80-20 rule there. So let's do 80.
I think you need a 0-0 rule.
Yeah, well, hey, you're probably right. But people, so if you look at it, people that sit, even if they don't get on social media, if you sit there and watch Fox News all day long and you never flip over to CNN, you never see the other side of the story.
Yep.
You never see the other side. You always see one agenda. And they give that agenda to you. Social media compounds that. Social media throws all kinds of stuff at you. It's not like, hey, I'm going to sit down and watch the news. I start getting notifications on my phone. I have to check them because it's a shot of dopamine. Wow. Dude, I'm telling you, the stuff is insane. I started looking at this stuff. It was freaking crazy, man. So I believe if we don't take control of our environment, it takes control of us. And we've talked about this, and that's why I related this to your subconscious mind, right? Because in your subconscious mind, if all you do is feed it bullshit, you're going to grow weeds in your field. If you feed it good stuff, if you do things like read books, go exercise, good affirmations, things of that nature, your mind will start to cultivate good things. And then good things happen. Cameron, you just made that comment. If you look for bad, by God, you'll find it.
Oh, yeah.
If you look for good, by God, you'll find it. I mean, it's just the way that it is. So, I believe technology is great. It's been a huge benefit to society in a number of ways. And I promise you, this is not to suggest that technology is all bad. Hell, I work for a tech company. I mean, it's not, I'm not here to bash technology. I'm just trying to make people understand that technology does exactly what you tell it to do. So what I'm suggesting is that what we need to start doing is outsmarting the system, right? So these algorithms are built by architects to have no idea what they can evolve into, but they also have no conscience. What we talked about before, right? They don't have your best interest at mind. They have the mission, and that's what they want to do. They want to accomplish a mission that they've been given. The architect wrote a mission out, right? We need to make money. We need to appeal to marketers. That's what we need to do at all costs. So we take their inputs and make sure that a marketer can look at him and say, I know what he's going to do. Give him this. Give him this because I know what he's going to do. But there's a positive for this, right? So the good news is algorithms adapt based off of inputs like we talked about before. An algorithm is nothing more than a machine that takes inputs and creates an output based off inputs.
Johnny 5.
That's all it is. It's all it is a machine. So we can outsmart it. But the fact of the matter is, if you can't control your subconscious mind, you're not working on your subconscious mind, you have no chance with technology.
Yep.
You have no chance.
Or anything.
So right now is the best time in your life to get your subconscious mind in order. Okay? Because the user and the machine learn to execute based off of what works and what doesn't work, right? So the most hits, the most amount of time viewed, and there's a lot of key indicators that it uses for that kind of stuff. But it all can be wrapped up into saying that you are actually in control of it. So all the bad shit that shows you in social media, the depression that you're getting because all you see is bad stuff that's going on, guess what? It's because all you look at is bad shit. All you look for is drama. So understand that if you see a bunch of bad stuff, if you get off of social media and you go, oh my God, the world is just up in flames. Everybody's just at each other's heart. Everybody hates everybody, blah, blah, blah. Guess what? You might want to check yourself because you created that reality on social media. You created it.
That's deep.
Right? So here's the thing. Treat it good. Feed it good stuff. Use it for positive. And guess what it's going to give you?
Positive.
Yep. You guessed it. Positive shit. You get good stuff out of it. You'll start getting stuff that shows up that's people saying stuff like, hey, things are great. Things are awesome. Blah, blah, blah. You'll start seeing that stuff more often.
I'm just picturing a lot of people sitting looking at their phone going, give me positive. The world is great. I love other people.
But
hey, I'd take it, man.
I'm telling you, the inverse is true, though, right? Yep. Bad in, bad out.
Yep.
That's just how it works. Yep. We have to make a conscious effort to be intentional about everything that we feed our technology, just like our subconscious mind. It's super similar. So with all that being said, what does that change for you guys?
Jeez, it opened my eyes, man. That's pretty good.
I'm just saying, from that point, what would you say needs to be different in your eyes?
Well,
for us personally or for the world, what's the reference?
Either or, whatever. Just I want to hear y'all's thoughts.
I'd say so it certainly is not. I'd say for me, I am not surprised by this. The depth of knowledge of it is more. The depth of it is more than I expected or more than I thought about. But it doesn't really shock me. But it does give you some conviction about what are the conversations that we're having, and I think probably for me and probably for all of us, because we have spent a lot of time talking about our subconscious and how important our subconscious and how it is so closely related to this. Your subconscious mind can be programmed and it'll build on that, and it doesn't know the difference between truth and a lie. It just knows what it hears. And so because of that, I think we're probably a little ahead of the game where we're aware of our words and we're aware of what we're looking at and we're aware of, what we're reading and what we're listening to, because we know it's all going in there and it's all programming our mind a certain way, and we have to be intentional about it. So, taking that to the next level with social media is now you got to be very intentional about, what you're looking at and what you're searching for, and the conversations you're having, or whatever it is. I mean, it's sad to say, but yeah, I mean, even the conversations you're having, I think you should always be talking like your kids are listening, or like it could be heard. I mean, let's just be honest. This is the time of the live mic, right? I mean, that's just the truth.
Yep.
And if you're completely insignificant and you want to stay that way, then who cares? Say whatever dumb shit you want to say. But if you want to actually be a player in any arena, if you want to make any kind of difference, I sent a story out the other day, and I asked a simple question to men: would you want your kids to read the story that you're writing right now? And I sent that out because I was convicted about it that day, and I was just like, dude, if my kids could watch a recording of what I'm doing today, and they could hear my story right now, would I be okay with it? And so I think it's a question as men we have to ask ourselves a lot. And now when you take the social media aspect into it, like, it's a whole nother level. Like, there's another level of accountability. So what kind of programming are we putting into our lives, which is going to trickle down to our families? So it's certainly convicting, and it just kind of keeps you on your toes. I'm a big, like the whole thing about guns aren't bad. It's, sometimes bad people have them.
Yep.
Social media is not bad. It's just sometimes it's used for the wrong reasons. So I think if you are controlling your life and you're controlling how you're using that tool, it can be a fantastic tool. Shepherds of Men is going to literally span throughout the world and impact generations and help men be men. And part of that, a lot of that, honestly, will have to do because of our social media presence and those platforms. It will allow us to reach more people than we could reach physically. So that's fantastic. We just have to be very intentional about it. So, and our personal stuff too.
Well, I like that everybody in the room's over 30. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So when you said that we use it as a tool where other people are being used, basically, that was pretty eye-opening, because you do realize that, because we literally can turn off our phones and just never turn it back on again. Well, other than business in some aspects. But the other part is your kids don't know the difference. They're not going to see that. And that's something that opened my mind up to, is like, we definitely have to put those safeguards in place to protect our kids, in a sense of not letting it be a user, but be a tool in their mind as well. And, I think that anybody who's listening to this, I think that you need to take that seriously, especially when you have young ones, because they don't know. They may be smart, and you might think that they're, smarter than most people or whatever.
The average bear.
Average kid, whatever. Parents always put their kids up on the pedestals in some aspects, but you got to protect them. You got to be intentional in that regard too, on top of all the other things that you're thinking of, not to add another piece to the pie. But if you're definitely going to open those doors to those kids to have access, I mean, you can't just give it to them, just like a loaded gun. I mean,
well, I was going to say, I mean, where I grew up,
yeah.
When I was a kid, and now even still, kids get guns young.
Yeah.
But they get taught how to use them properly. They get taught how to be safe with them. They get taught that they are comfortable with guns at a young age, because it's very intentional. It's not a, hey, don't touch that because it's going to hurt you. It's a, hey, this will hurt you if you don't use it properly. But it can also be a great tool for hunting and for harvesting, food for your family. And some people think that's so outdated, whatever. I mean, it's the truth. For protection for your family. So, where I grew up, it was early on, we wanted to be taught, and people wanted their kids to know how to use a weapon properly. Mm-hmm. Quite frankly, in my mind, social media can be a weapon for good or evil, So I think you need to approach that just as intentional. Like, I have multiple firearms in our house, right? And our children at a young age will learn, and some of them already have learned how to use them properly, and when when you should have them out, when you shouldn't, things like that. And most of the time, you don't touch them. Most of the time, it's not necessary to have it, right? Yep. There's only very few times for us, for hunting, or if we're doing some range shooting or whatever. social media could very much be the same way. I am a firm believer in what in the hell does my 14-year-old really need with social media other than nonsense. There's really nothing productive unless he's starting some kind of social media company, which I'm fine with him doing if he's going to make money. My 5-year-old, absolutely no reason to be on social media right now, so here's a good example. My 14-year-old, I would be okay with him shooting a gun without me, because he's reached a maturity level with a weapon in his hand that I'd be okay with him going squirrel hunting or something like that and me not necessarily being there. My 5-year-old, I am totally okay with him using a gun, but I'm going to be right next to him.
Right.
So the same thing with social media. If you're training them the same way, maybe the 14-year-old has reached a level of maturity where they can use social media properly, but the 5-year-old, I'm going to be right there next to him just to make sure, probably for another 10 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's just,
absolutely.
that's my personal whatever.
So that's an outstanding analogy too. Whenever you look at it like that, was we don't generally educate our kids on social media because we don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to educate your kids on social media if you don't know any better. So I'm going to wrap up just because I think we've pushed out enough to the listeners and stuff. But the fact of the matter is I appreciate that because you guys really brought it back and honed it into a good analogy on where it's very applicable to today's society. Because when you talk to somebody and you say, here, I'm going to hand my 6-year-old a loaded handgun.
They would freak the fuck out.
They would absolutely blow their mind. But the fact of the matter is that gun is deadly to them if they don't know how to use it, right?
Right.
Social media
Same way.
can be deadly to
You
their
just talked
mind.
about suicide rates for 10-year-olds.
Oh my God! That when you said that, I was
can't
like,
even.
what?
I'm still trying to get my head around that.
But what I'm saying is, it can be deadly to their minds. It can be detrimental to their minds, and stuff like that. So it's important that you do that. So one of the things, and I appreciate that. So men, what should we do? First of all, you need to reduce the amount of time that you and your kids are spending on social media. If you spend an unbelievable amount of time on social media and you're not sitting around the dinner table eating together and you're sitting there on your phones or whatever it may be, I know everybody's probably seen that meme where that old man is sitting on the other side of the table and his granddaughter's sitting there on her phone and stuff like that. And somebody took the picture and said she doesn't know that she's running out of time. It's one of those things, like just get some time off social media. I'm not saying don't ever get on social media. Social media is awesome. I love it, dude. There's tons of stuff on there that I'm interested in. I'm not bashing social media. I'm saying it needs to be metered. Okay. But when you do get on social media, look for good shit. Look for things to compliment. Why don't you find stuff that you want to like and get on there and be like, dude, that's awesome. Great. Congratulations. Good for you guys. You should be a beacon of light on social media. If you're a beacon of light on social media, things will start to get good. If you're constantly looking for confrontation on social media, you will constantly be presented with a world of confrontation. That is just how it works. We just educated you on how the algorithm works, and that's exactly how it works. So if all you see is confrontation in the world, it's probably because that's all you're looking for. So look for a way to make other people's lives better through social media. Just spend a couple weeks just trying to compliment people. Like when you see something, don't scroll by it. Stop and be like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Great accomplishment, man. Good for you, man. That's awesome. Even if you barely know the freaking dude or girl or whatever it may be. And keep a close eye on what your kids are consuming. Educate your kids. There's classes on Udemy. It's UDEMY that will teach you and your kids about social media, about technology, about things of that aspect and how to use it. Because I promise you, social media is a great thing. I know a lot of kids that have become multimillionaires because they're driven. And there's things that they want to do, and they've gone after their dreams and become multimillionaires, which is something that has never happened in the past, which is an unbelievable benefit of social media. But you know what those kids know? How social media works. That's the difference. Your kid is going to be used by social media if they don't know how social media works. If they know how social media works, they can use social media. And on the flip side, and this is probably one of the most important parts, work on speaking into your children's subconscious minds. Speak into their minds. You will never be able to get rid of the negative and damaging things that they're going to see that's going to come at them because they are bombarded by information constantly. But you can strengthen the way that they feel about themselves, which is far more important. Build confidence in them so that they will be less likely to rely on those likes and those comments on their posts because it's irrelevant to the way that they feel about themselves. guys, I hope this helps. If there's any questions that you guys have, if there's anything that you guys want to reach out about, or maybe this touched you, maybe there's some educational pieces that you want to get access to and stuff. O is a wealth of knowledge when it comes to social media and things of that nature. The rest of us are really learning. We're bringing a lot of things on, as you can see. We've been doing our research as well, so feel free to reach out. Shoot us some comments, man. Ask us some questions. We're all about it. If we want to do a follow-up, episode on this, just to maybe clarify some things and stuff, shoot us a message and ask us. Go check us out. We're on YouTube now. O's lighting it up over here and stuff. And I know this was a little bit of a heavy episode, but I wanted to make sure that we got the point across, guys. Like, this is important. You need to understand this aspect of things. It's just like what we talked about with a gun. If you have a loaded gun sitting next to your side, you damn sure better know how to use it, and you better know how to use it safely, and you better know when to use it. Same thing with social media. We're going to compare that to a loaded gun, because ultimately it can kill your brain. So ultimately, guys, we're here because we love you guys. We want to educate you guys. We want you guys to know about all this stuff. Obviously, we're on social media. We don't think it's a bad thing, guys. We think it's a great thing, but we need you to use it and not let it use you. Just like life, guys. We talked about it several times before. We act on life. Life doesn't act on us. Love you guys. Spin the movement.